All right, we move podcast season 2, episode 2. We got a special guest on, about to run down her accomplishments. First high school, prep 2016 volleyball honorable mention All American. All conference Cape Fear Region Player of the Year. 2017 Star Volleyball, named to the American Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Week. 2018 started every match, paced the team in total kills. So just a legend in the flesh. 2019 All-American, Athletic Conference second team, one of two powers to start all 30 matches. 2020 All-American Conference first team, 1,000 kills in digs, becoming the sixth player in ECU volleyball program history, now working as the director of student athletic development and life skills, following her collegiate career. One of my greatest friends, love her to death, known her since she was a little one, really. Bree Wood, Bree Wood, Brianna Wood, welcome to the We Move podcast.
Oh, thanks, Ev. I'm so happy to be here and talk with you.
Of course, of course. How you doing? What are you up to these days?
I'm good. So I actually just graduated with my master's in May.
Yeah,
Ooh,
congratulations.
thank you. It was in kinesiology with a concentration in sports management. So glad to have been able to start working in sports before, well, I would say during my master's. I think I started end of my first year. So it was awesome to be in a master's program and be able to work full time as a director of student athlete development for ECU athletics and still be a part of Pirate Nation just a little bit longer. Now that I've graduated, I'm able to apply kind of everything I've learned in the sports management program to the athletes and literally kind of anything for all the jobs I've done. Like I also coach outside of my full-time job. And so I've learned a lot in that program that I can apply, like leadership, communication, how to be a good coach, how to be there for your players. And then on top of that, my life skills programming for our athletes now, mental health resources, how to reach out to people in the community, basically just how to bridge that gap between athletics and campus.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. So
Thanks.
we're gonna touch on all of that. We'll touch on all of that. First, I want to ask. I like to ask everyone. What kind of motivates you? What's your motivation? Because when you came into college, I'm a year older than you. You kind of came in running. I'll ask about kind of how you started with volleyball after this, but you came in playing volleyball at East Carolina. You kind of hit the ground running, being a key critical piece of the team. We always enjoy going to y'all's games and watching you play. I still remember going with KJ and Justin, they were we ended up being roommates, KJ and Justin call you Beyonce, really being a star. But what's kind of your motivation? What was your motivation when you played? And then kind of what's your motivation now?
Oh, great question. So I have a few things that motivate me. One, my family. So I really want to make them proud in kind of everything I do. So my grandma passed right before I got to college. I was just about to graduate high school and she had passed a few months before. And I was super, super close with her. So when I went to college, I had that grit, like I'm gonna do everything for her, just really playing for her.
Right.
Other motivation for me is just bettering myself. I feel like I'm a person that's always trying to get 1% better in everything I do. I don't really see everyone as a competitor or everything as competition. I just see it as like me trying to get better
Right.
each day and exceeding expectations for myself and the goals I have set. Another thing that motivates me is like my relationship with God and really just all around making kind of myself proud, everyone proud, and just thanking my future self, when I get there. Obviously, hard work does pay off. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. That's awesome. So I think that's one of those things too, just like when you have that internal drive and multiple factors, because like if it, people are like, oh, if I'm just doing it for myself, then like, you know, just doing it for yourself isn't enough. You say like, oh, I'm
Yeah.
just doing it for me. You run out of that. You have to have that internal motivation, the things you talked about, you're, wanting to prove yourself right, wanting to be the best version of yourself is always great. But then, your family, your faith, just, kind of honing in on that and understanding, like, especially when it's for something bigger than you, a higher calling, a higher purpose. I feel like that fire really never dies. So I really think that's awesome, you know. So
Oh,
first, let's
thank
go ahead and
you.
get it. Let's get into you know the volleyball career. How like so? How old were you when you started playing?
Um, I think I started when I was 12. I'm
Mhm.
pretty sure I was going to the 5th grade. I was forced to do volleyball, it wasn't by choice.
Really? Why were
Yeah.
you forced?
So I was, believe it or not, shy when I was younger, and so my parents wanted me to try a bunch of sports, and they put me in a lot of them to basically branch out. And I will say I'm so thankful that they did because I've just met so many amazing people along the journey, so many mentors, so many coaches,
Mhm.
just people that have been in my life for a long time now that still check in on me, that still, see things and will comment or just a simple, "Hey, how are you doing? I've been thinking about you." So, yeah.
Yeah, no, I understand that for sure. It's like, so what when you were what kind of made you stick with it? You know, was there anything else, like were you playing a whole bunch of, was first of all, what other sports did you like outside of volleyball?
Like,
Yeah.
not very many.
Not
So
many.
I played okay, so I started when I was super young, like 4 years old. I
Mhm.
did competitive cheer, and I feel like I got a lot of my athleticism from competitive cheer, even though a lot of people, kind of have their thoughts about cheer, but
Yeah.
competitive cheer was probably one of the hardest things I've ever done. Like,
No.
from having to do the tumbling to lifting people and stunting. It's a
Right.
lot to pull out routines. Then after that, I grew up, didn't like cheer, but my family owned a cheer gym. So, just stuck it out a little bit longer.
Mhm.
Got into middle school, tried basketball.
Yeah.
Hate contact sports, never put me in that.
Were you
Then
nice,
let's see.
Bree? Were you nice?
No, please calm down. I was tall. I was
Yeah.
tall. Not
Yeah.
nice though.
Yeah.
Um, After that, tried soccer.
Mhm.
I was a goalie, hate bugs, I hate the outdoors so much, so we just
Yeah.
cut that as well. So that just cuts all the outdoor sports. But yeah, and that pretty much led me to volleyball from there. Volleyball, I think I really just like learning all of the skills in volleyball. I just feel like it was such a challenge, but something that could be accomplished. And I just really had that motivation to go every day because it was fun for me. It was fun to learn and have those challenges set and enjoy it at the same time.
Right. Right. Was that so like for you, when did you like know like okay, I can play in college? Was it like young where you like picked it up like, oh, I'm pretty good at this? Or was it something like were you did you always have to like work at it? Or I know you have a great work ethic, but was it something like you kind of hopped into it and like, oh, I'm pretty good, and then like kind of kept at it, or kind of what got you
Mm,
going there?
no, so my dream was to play in college. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't think I was good enough to play a lot of my, I would say, middle and high school years.
Mhm.
Well, up until mid high school, I didn't really have the dream of playing in college and middle school. I was just doing it for fun and enjoyment. Obviously, in high school, you start playing club, similar to basketball. As you know, you guys do the AAU travel ball to get recruited and stuff, I believe. That's the
Mhm.
same as volleyball. So in club, that's where you get recruited the most. So I did club in Fayetteville for a little bit.
Mhm.
Um, it was smaller at the time, so it was hard to get kind of college coaches to look at. It's a really big club now in Fayetteville, which is awesome.
Mhm.
So I started playing club in Raleigh my sophomore year, I
Mhm.
believe. Yeah, so I would travel from Fayetteville to Raleigh kind of every Tuesday, Thursday, or every Monday, Wednesday after high school, go
Mhm.
from school, drive to Raleigh, go to practice at this really good club in Raleigh where a lot of college recruits will come and watch when it was the rule that they could come watch the practices.
Mhm.
And yeah, from there, that culture was just it was completely different. It was very high pace, high intensity, competitive, like everyone's going after it all the time. So I think that kind of set the tone of I kind of like this. Like, this is something I'd want to continue after my high school career.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, 100%. I think like, once you kind of get in that setting, you're like, okay, I'm kind of keeping up, and you're starting to see more because like sports opens up so much of the world to travel and
Oh,
see, especially in like travel or club, kind of how you spoke on. Um, when did you get like your first scholarship or like first college like that like hey you can come play here?
Okay, so it's actually funny because my first year
Hmm.
playing club in Raleigh, so when
Hmm.
you get kind of looked at, I had made the lowest team there.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh, well, I don't know how like college will be looking. It was looking like D2, D3.
Right.
Well,
Yeah.
my first year there, I went to, camps. You go to camps starting eighth grade. So
Hmm.
I went to camps. I came to ECU's camp my sophomore year. And at the camp, the coach kind of offered me, I
Hmm.
think it was the second or third day, like on the spot, like, hey, do you want to play here? So
Yeah.
that was my first big D1 offer, kind of my first time really talking to anyone. My
Mhm.
cousin played football here. My dad went here. So
Yeah.
big pirate family.
Right.
And I just really loved the like girls that I met because I got to meet the players at camp. Really just kind of everything about Greenville. I liked Sup Dogs and
Yeah.
just how everything is so close and how it's really just like a college town, like a community of people that kind of all bond together. So that was just, it was kind of my first big one and I just went with it. I was like, this is something I really like. Obviously, I've been at the camp. I enjoyed being at the camp. So I want to continue here. So I
Yeah.
had a few smaller ones that my club coaches would tell me about, but nowhere like I was able to really visit or talk to anyone else.
Yeah. So like since eighth grade, you were like locked in on ECU, really.
No, since sophomore year.
Sophomore year.
Yeah,
Okay, you
that's when
said
I
look,
went to
you
the
said you
camp.
went to the camps and got the offer. So
No, I said sorry.
Mhm.
Miscommunication. I said I went to camp starting in eighth grade, but
Yeah.
I went to ECU's camp when I started playing travel in Raleigh.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Mhm.
So like where what other schools like kind of were looking or were like it was like nah, I'm really ECU. Like I wasn't even worried about it.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Like, because I had just started playing in
Mhm.
Raleigh and I was on the lowest team, it was just like, it was kind of like very fast. Like,
Yeah.
okay, I started playing where college recruits see me. I just went to a camp, boom. I can't remember what schools were looking at me because they were all like through either my coaches or
Hmm.
like my parents would find out and tell me. I
Yeah.
think I did go to a Duke camp and I did hear about a little bit of interest, but I couldn't even tell
Right.
you. I don't remember.
Right.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, no, it's fine. It's fine. Were there like anybody, did you like model your game? I'm not like super into the volleyball. You're the volleyball expert here, but was there like anybody that really inspired you playing growing up? Like, did you watch somebody? Like, did you like to watch YouTube clips, somebody on TV that played volleyball or in any sport really that kind of inspired you?
I'm not gonna lie to you. I didn't really watch sports on
Yeah,
TV growing up.
yeah.
I'm more of like
Oh, that's
a
fine.
in person. I need to see it
Right.
live. I will say there was this one girl that played on the Olympic team. Her
Mhm.
name was Destiny Hooker. I looked up to her and her volleyball competitiveness and I just
Right.
saw the when I saw the Olympics, I guess that's kind of an inspiration.
Right.
Watching the Olympics, I was like, "Oh yeah, that's something that looks so cool." Like imagine if I was, there one day playing on
Hmm.
the USA court or wherever they are for the Olympics. I thought that would be cool, but going through college, knees are getting old. So
No, I definitely understand that. Um, so kind of that's perfect segue. Kind of moving into college, like, how was that experience? You come in as a freshman, you're playing a good bit, and then kind of talk about your journey. I know there was a coaching change. If you would like to just talk about your East Carolina journey, because I know you guys like I'm not 1,000% sure, but I know when you first got there, the team wasn't fantastic. And I know like as you went through your career, y'all had some huge wins, some wins that I saw, some more wins like when we would FaceTime or talk even after I left. I know you were there. I know you had guys had some good wins. So kind of just the progression of the program, but also kind of just the progression of your career because you hop in freshman year, were you like coming in like, hey, I really had no expectations. I was just going hard in practice and everything kind of flowed from there. But just talking about that ECU career a little bit.
yeah, so to answer that last question, I like that you brought it up because coaching, you see a difference now in how players think.
Hmm.
So when I came to college, I definitely didn't think I was going to be a starter. Like I was like, I'm expecting to come in, work hard
Yeah.
for my position, do what I have to do, but I'm not coming in as like a freshman that's like, oh, I'm about to be the number one, like all rotation,
Mhm.
outside hitter, because I do realize obviously the rest of your team has been there, for so many years, 2, 3,
Right.
4 years. Like they have the college experience, they have the scouting, all of that. So it was like a shock, and I was so happy that I had the opportunity to start, and it just made me want to keep working for more, which is what I believe I did. Now to go through, I would say my freshman year, or our freshman year on the team, was a pretty solid one. I think that was the year we had the most wins. We came in fourth that year out of the conference, and we had a tough conference. That
Yeah.
was the year Wichita joined. They were 13th in the nation.
Mhm.
Just really good altogether. UCF was really good.
Mhm.
Houston really good. So Temple was really good. They used to come in second all the time. We beat them both times. So my freshman year was kind of like a history. That was like the start, I would say, of the history making years. We also had 5 seniors, which I believe helps a lot with the team culture, team chemistry, and our coach was huge on team culture, and that was, good to see. Like we bonded a lot, and so I think that's super important when you have like a college team and you don't know everybody and you're coming in new with like 20 other girls, and you're just like, who are you?
Right. Yeah.
Sophomore year, I would say I got injured the end of the middle of our freshman year conference game, so I was out for a bit. I will say injury in athletics is really hard, especially college athletics, because
Oh
you
yeah.
dedicate so much time to this being an athlete. And so it's like once you're injured and you can't do it, you're like watching all of your teammates. That's hard. And you're just basically finding your identity. And I talked to the freshman athletes a few weeks ago in our summer bridge program
Mhm.
about student athlete identity with one of my coworkers.
Mhm.
And I just think it's really eye opening to know who you are outside of just your sport. You are so much more than that. One game doesn't define you, your coach taking you out doesn't define you. And I just feel like athletes in general, let it tear you down where it shouldn't. Like that doesn't define who you are. It's one game. There will be many other games.
Right.
You'll have a lifetime of experience. The sport is not all that matters. So I think personally, I
Mhm.
had a hard time adapting to who am I?
Right.
Without volleyball, if you take volleyball away, who am I? And I
Right.
just feel like injury really helped me try to figure out who I was, because I was like, I don't know what to do now that I can't do anything. Like I would be so angry, I would just throw a ball against the wall with my right arm because
Mhm.
I couldn't with my left. It was just, hot mess express.
Right.
So, going to sophomore year, I got a little bit better. Had to go through a bunch of like MRIs, EKGs, EEGs, anything you could really think of to figure out what was wrong with me, how
Mhm.
to do that. So there was nothing really wrong. They said I was just really tight and I had to get needled a lot. So that was not so fun.
Yeah.
Sophomore year, though, came back, was able to play through conference.
Mhm.
Shoulder was still a little weak, didn't have much power, but,
Mhm.
I was still able to play, which was a blessing.
Mhm.
That year, I think we beat NC State, which
Yeah.
was really good. So we beat SMU that year for like the first time in program history. So a lot of good things happened sophomore year as well. Had a lot of good additions to the team.
Mhm.
Junior year, I think was when COVID hit for us, right?
Yeah, I
Correct
believe
me if
it was
I'm
that time.
wrong.
Yeah, I believe it was.
Yeah, so how junior year already, like being in COVID,
Mhm.
we were still doing 20 hours, but then we weren't able to play. So then we got our season pushed to the spring. Then we
Mhm.
had to turn around and play conference again in the fall. That was tough. I'm not gonna lie. That was a lot of 20-hour weeks, and
Right.
you're supposed to have an off season, so
Mhm.
that was a lot. But thankfully, you got the 5th year extension from that, and I really appreciated that as it helped me, kind of really navigate who I was at that point. Because I'm like, I got to take this opportunity now. I'm like, okay, what am I gonna do after school? What are my goals? Like, I need to start figuring that out because senior year is quickly approaching. Got to graduate. So I'm going to be worried about school, getting my stuff done, making sure I graduate on time and all that good stuff. So I would say it was yeah, that's pretty much how it went the whole time. So I played 5 years for
Yeah.
everyone.
Yeah. How is like so before we talk about like the last little bit few years, how was there like a certain moment in your injuries? Like, did you have a teammate, a friend who kind of talked to you like, hey, you're more than a volleyball? Was it a coach? Was there anybody that kind of talked to you about that? Like, hey, was there a moment where it hit in like, okay, I'm at peace with this, like I'm going through adversity, but this adversity and this sport doesn't define me, and I'll overcome it?
I would say I had support, yes, but I would also say I wasn't very vocal about how I was feeling. Like, you couldn't really tell. The only person that could tell my frustration was probably my trainer, my athletic trainer, because she's the one that saw me every day for all of the appointments,
Yeah,
all of the what are we gonna do? So I will say, like, you remember Kai and Sid, they
yeah,
were very helpful in like after treatments, like I would have to ice my shoulder and try to drive, and they were just very helpful, like getting the door,
mm,
just helping me out with things that I couldn't do. I could barely lift my backpack, like everything was just so painful all the time. And
mm,
so they were super supportive and super like anytime I was frustrated, they were good at calming me down. So they were really good support system during that time.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I think those people like in times like that, it's always good to have a support system too. And I know you always have been like quiet and kind of reserved when it comes to things like that. You
Mhm.
know, what would you say like now? Like, have you learned from that? Do you kind of talk more, or do you kind of have your own way to go about it? Like, how would you say? Because sometimes I'm like, look, I might be going through something, but I'm just gonna just ride it out and keep grinding. And it's probably not the healthiest or best way, but definitely having those
Yeah,
friends like now, I try to open up a little bit more to my friends and talk to people. Doing little things like devotionals, Bible devotionals, and then
right.
like just whether it's just really just talking. Like there was this one like Headspace app, and like they charge now, but like there's Daily Stoic. I don't know if you remember Tay Hardy, but he actually
Yeah.
put me onto this podcast. It's called the Daily Stoic, and it's like kind of helped me like
Oh.
kind of like not get too high, not get too low about certain things, because like I don't know, like I said, like for anybody listening, like me and Bria have been really close for a long time, so yeah, like we've talked about a lot of things, and I know for me, like my journey at ECU was hard sometimes, like real hard, and it was definitely a test of like patience and faith. So like just making sure like throughout the journey you face a lot of adversity, just like for me, I always like say like, okay, I won't get too high, I won't get too low, and that's kind of how I go about it. But like now, I know you like to work with the athletes and stuff. Like, how do you suggest to them, and like kind of how do you go about it when you're dealing with certain situations that are adverse?
Yeah, that's really those are really good points you brought up, and I'm glad you did because I'll
Hmm.
start with myself. You
Hmm.
know, you are similar to me, and like
Yeah.
everyone always thinks you're good, and you
Hmm.
could be going through some things, but you're always happy and uplifting. So I've always appreciated that from you. But I do know sometimes also life hits,
Yeah.
and so it's okay to reach out to people you really trust. So I think one thing for me what I started doing after kind of volleyball is I started journaling, and I think that's just something for me personally I enjoy. And
Hmm.
I wouldn't like I just feel like there are different ways for everybody. I can just give suggestions on, what works best for you. So for some people it's like listening to relaxing music. Some people might be disassociating by turning on TV and not thinking about it, distracting yourself. For me, I like to feel my feelings, I like to get through. So I try to journal as much as I can. On top of that, I think I put relaxing music on. I'm trying to think of
Yeah.
what else I do.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what you said. Yeah, devotions definitely. Oh my gosh, prayer has been so helpful. And I know sometimes when you get to that angry point and you're like, I just don't know what to do.
Mhm.
And it seems like it just makes you not really want to, turn to God or pray about it. But that's helped me so much. It kind of just feels like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, like giving it to him because, he's not going to tell anyone, he's there for you. So
Yeah.
that has been awesome. And I think just really kind of finding people I belong with and finding the right friends that I can trust. And, you don't have to trust everyone with your business, but you have like a select few, family members you can call, friends, if not family, just finding who you fit in with and who you belong with and who you trust, I feel like has
Yeah.
helped a lot.
Yeah, no, 100%. I definitely, yeah, I agree with that 1,000%. I know you touched on it a little bit. That COVID times, that was such a hard time. It was such a hard time for us because, like, I know you remember, like, we had like so many outbreaks, games canceled. Like, there weren't like I don't know if y'all. I'm pretty sure y'all didn't have fans or like no like limited fans.
Yeah,
Like
for the beginning, yeah.
yeah, like limited fans, and like I remember we even had an outbreak. You know, you try to hang out with like your friends, like from
Oh
different
god.
teams and stuff. And like I remember when we had one of our outbreaks, they were like, "Nah." People were like, "Nah." They told us to stay away from the men's basketball team.
Yeah.
They were like, "Well, he can't even." I don't know. It was crazy, but um, you know, that was a good time though. I really feel like I learned a lot about myself, and I'm kind of like I don't mind being alone. Like I'm don't
Yeah.
like obviously I like to have a good time and be around people and you know, enjoy you know the college experience. So that kind of sucked not being able to do that. But I had a close group of
Yeah.
friends that you know I was able to hang around, and then my teammates, you know Ian, Jaden,
Yeah.
my roommates, you know Pig, Miles, Luigi, you know, more guys, Tremont, like JJ, Batum, but like Luke, like I think I said Luigi, like all of us, we got really close, you know, because we were really around each other like 24/7. You know, our managers, GA, you know,
Mhm.
all of us, we got really close. So, how was that year really for you? That COVID year, and then talk about that your senior year, and then because I know it was like you had that COVID year, but you didn't have to use it for you, was there like any like hesitation, or you're like, nope, I'm gonna go ahead and use it? So if you just want to talk about the COVID year and then those last couple of years and then your decision, I think we would love to hear that because I know that was a rough time for me because I had my extra year. I was like, look, college, this is a lot. The school is a lot. These workouts are a lot. And I don't even, you know, I'm out. You know, I'm ready to go ahead and start
Yeah.
making money. So, kind of, how was that for
Yeah.
you?
Okay, yeah, so I guess I'll start with the 5th year just because you ended with it and it's on my mind right now.
Yeah.
So, for me, I realized when I went through my undergrad, so I got my bachelor's of science in public health, and I loved my teachers. It was a concentration in community health. I loved the classes, everything was great. One problem was I did not see myself in a healthcare setting, and
Right.
so I was like, yeah, and then, COVID happened and you saw all the nurses are, working hard. Everyone in the hospitals, everyone in the offices are working super hard, overworking
Mhm.
and seeing how stressful, I was just like, yeah, I'm just not thinking this is something I would wanna do, and once again, it goes back to student athlete identity. Like, I chose public health because I heard, like, throughout college, "Oh, there's a lot of jobs you could get with it." The only problem was I wanted to enjoy the job I got.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
I decided, like, thankfully, when the 5th year happened, I was like, "Okay, well, I really wanna get my master's in sports management." I believe I had heard, or I was, like, really in sports, just sports, whatever, like, we have, and so I had started researching and I was like, well, maybe I want to get my MBA. So really for me, the 5th year like was more dependent on my school and basically just what I wanted to do for that 5th year because I wasn't ready to just hang it up and be done. Especially I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted to do, I was
Right.
feeling like a lost puppy a
Yeah.
lot of the time. So I was like, I really need that year to, breathe, lock in, focus on, your life goals, your future and things like that instead of more of like, oh, like what's the end of my volleyball career gonna look like? That wasn't really my main focus.
Right. Right. I
I
understand.
forgot the other question, I'm sorry, you need to
No,
repeat it.
it's all right. What was really like we'll come back to that. So I'm gonna ask
Okay,
you a question about that in a second. But
okay.
your last 2 years, so the COVID year and
Oh,
then
yeah.
before that, your senior year, and then just kind of how that was because it was like you had the COVID times, you know, how was that for you and your team? And then how was your senior year?
Mhm.
Because everything was kind of back full swing and it was like kind of good from there.
Yeah, so beginning of COVID, I'll just start kind of the timeline because
Yeah.
everything is kind of a blur. As you probably know, it's just
Yes, it
way
was.
too much that happened.
Yeah.
So, spring when COVID happened, so it was that spring 2020, right? We
Right.
went on spring break. Everyone had spring break except for probably you guys because you're in season. I don't know.
Yeah.
And they extended spring break because of the COVID outbreaks. Well,
Yeah.
then remember, school just got canceled for the rest of the semester, or we went online the rest of the semester.
Yeah. Yeah.
We didn't come back to Greenville. Okay. So we had all the way until summer. I think our team came back in July.
Mhm.
So we were home from March until July. For me, that time was really hard because, we weren't forced to work out. Being an athlete, you're just so used to everyone making the schedule for you. You wake up at this time, you go eat at this time, you go work out at this time, you go to class at this time, you go to study hall, the meetings, all that stuff.
Mm.
I think that really, I'm glad it did happen because it really put in perspective, wow, I have to start doing this for myself in, just a few short years. Like, I need to create a routine for myself. When am I going to get up? When am I going to go work out?
Mm.
Am I going to be motivated to work out? Like you said, that intrinsic motivation.
Yeah.
So the first the first 2 months, I'm not gonna lie, I was not motivated to do
Right.
anything. I was like, this is nice. Like, I don't have to force myself to work out.
Mhm.
So, started working back out. I was too bored. Started working back out.
Mhm.
Working out was so, so hard. I will say I found joy in running, and,
Yeah.
as athletes, you're just like, "Who finds joy in running?" But I was so bored, I that's all I did. I just
No,
started
me
running, and I
too.
really
Me
went
too. I
out to
was
my dad hated being around people, so he was like, "You can go running." And I
yeah.
was like, "Okay." So went running every day. That was fun, I
Mhm.
guess. He wanted me to wear a mask, but I was like, outside? No.
Outside. Yeah, no, my dad was the same way. Like he had us on lockdown. We weren't going anywhere. My dad like had this little cable dude come in and like my dad was like spraying behind him every room he went in, like spraying all the lights on. He was not playing about it. So my dad
Yeah.
definitely was not playing at all when it but for me running too, like I always like I used to run around Greenville. Like I think you probably used to see me jogging around
Yeah, not
like
me. You know
yeah,
that.
I mean, I used to just like it. Well, first, like I don't know, I feel like it would give me like an edge, like and staying
Yeah.
in shape. And like obviously, basketball, you got to do a lot of running. So I just always
Yeah.
wanted to make sure I was on point when it came to that, and it was just like a good release for me too, to help me stay in shape and also like be outside. Walk, go around Greenville, see the people, different people, in and out of
Sounds
the house.
very Ev. Yes.
Yeah, it's always happening in Green Vegas. So see what's going
Yes.
on, So that I always like to do that, being nosy. But
We
yeah,
know.
yeah. So I guess that we know. um, yeah, no, it was cool though. It helped me. So I definitely understand that. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and get back to
No, you're fine. Yeah, please
everything.
talk. Like, I want to know your experience too.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So
we also,
mhm.
yeah, are you going?
No,
Okay.
you got it. You got it. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So also,
Mhm.
I would say it was a good time for me to spend with my family because also being a college athlete, you get like no time, especially y'all for basketball. Y'all
Yeah,
are like year round, right?
yeah.
And so
Basically.
we usually get like one month off in the summer, and then you're back at workouts and school and
Mhm.
all that stuff. So I think it was nice that I like finally got to see my family every day. They don't have my dad had to work because he was an essential worker at a hospital. So he
Mhm.
was there, but he would be home a lot more often. My mom's home. So it was just good to like feel kind of back in high school or middle school and just be able to spend time with my family again because like I said earlier, I really value family time and that quality time with them.
Mhm.
So that part was good. So after COVID, coming back to school and workouts, we died that first day back.
I bet.
Brandon, our strength trainer, gave us a packet over COVID, and our team
Yeah.
showed up the first day
Mhm.
and thought I was gonna pass out. Was sore for maybe a month after that, so that
Yeah.
was crazy. But yeah, workout started. So once you got back in the groove, I was so happy though. I was so happy to be back with the team. So happy to just be back communicating with people. I feel like a lot of the COVID babies now, like not that they don't know how to communicate, but they were just so used to being on a phone, being on a laptop, being virtual with everything. And I feel like they really missed that piece of getting to meet new people and
Mhm.
network outside of, just the phone. And so
Right.
I'm glad I was able to get back, be with the team, meet all the new people in the fall. So you remember we started the COVID test and we had to get them 3 times a week, which
Oh,
was
they were so
insane for me.
horrible. So horrible.
Especially when people would be like, choose this nurse, not this nurse, on the
Yeah,
right, on the
yeah.
left.
Yeah.
That was funny. So COVID test happened 3 times a week. We were back practicing, so everything was fine. We were doing 20-hour practices a week because we didn't know if we'd be playing against people because, people in the conference were like, oh, we don't want to play, we don't want to play.
Mhm.
So we were doing 20-hour weeks all the way up until I think mid season probably. And then we're like, well, we're not playing anyone. So let's go to 8-hour weeks because, there's no point. So we
Yeah.
picked it back up in the spring. Then we only had 12 conference games, which I think is crazy because volleyball, we usually have like 20 to 30 games altogether. We only had 12 games altogether for our COVID year. So that kind of sucked because that was my senior year, I believe. And so, yeah, that was my senior because then I went to the 5th year after that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Yeah. So that was kind of hard because our last game was the senior game, but it was only 12 games. So you just never know like what can happen when your career would be over. So thankfully we got that 5th year. So my 5th year was that next season, right? Because volleyball's usually in fall. So we went straight from spring playing conference to fall playing conference all over again. So that was back to normal. We were able to take off our masks after everyone was vaccinated, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And all of the like rules and regulations kind of died down. We were able to do that. And I ended up catching COVID in the beginning, but that's okay. We won't talk
Yeah.
about
Yeah,
it.
yeah. No, I definitely caught. For me, I caught COVID like as soon as we had our junior year. We got sent home at the conference tournament because like they were like, oh,
Yeah.
you're working out and
How was
everything.
that?
It was crazy because like I don't know, for me personally, like I just wanted to cherish every moment that I had. Like, my story, like coming from manager to
Yeah.
player. So, like, conference
Period.
tournament, it was a fun experience. Like, we're down there at Texas. We practice in TCU's gym. I had a really good practice. Like, I'm like, okay, like, I'm feeling good. And then I'm seeing these like outbreaks and all these news coming out, like they just canceled the COVID. And I was like, I thought it was not
Mhm.
real. I'm like, this is not real. Like, there's no way. Like, we'll be
Mhm.
back. Like, I'm not. And then they were like, no, we're like flying home. And I'm like, oh man, this is serious. So when they canceled the season, they canceled the rest of the conference tournaments, they canceled the NCAA tournament. I was just like, wow, like this is crazy. Like I always sports stopped for a minute. But
Mhm.
it was a crazy time. But I knew we had that last year and I was just like excited, to kind of get that last year. Once they said the season was gonna be a go, like we were just working out in the summer, staying ready.
Yeah.
So that was just big thing for me is like, okay, well, how can I get ready? Like, and I couldn't even really shoot because no gyms were open. No park, like we had to go to the park a little bit, but even that, I think the park was closed. Like they had the gates on the park, so like there was really nowhere to shoot
Yeah.
until I came back to campus. So I was thankful for that. And I got the COVID like as soon as I came back, because like as soon as I came back, I'm like, I haven't
Jeez.
had any social interaction. Like I'm trying to meet people, different that stuff like that. Like I'm
Yes,
going
you love
around, like
social interaction.
yeah. So I was like having social interaction. I was so I caught the COVID and I figured out well, like I was actually on a run and I had barely made it down the street, like by the Prox. Like I barely made it down the street and like
Oh God.
like I was like breathing heavy. I'm like, oh man, I'm
Oh God.
COVID. And
That's
that same day I had went to the like rally, because all the protests were going out. So I had just went to the rally that day. And like I remember having the phone conversation and my coach called me, like, said like you got COVID, and they like asked if it was like from the. I was like, no, it's not from the rally. Like I was just there today. Like I probably had it
mhm.
before, and like I was seeing like a couple of friends that were back on campus, like they were around, just like so I could have gotten it anywhere. You never know.
I do
So
remember that happening
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So yeah, I'm not gonna go to, but we yeah, so it was tough, but like it was nice to have that season. It did suck though to no fans. Like we beat Houston the year they went to the Final Four. No
That
fans
was
would have rushed yeah,
crazy.
like the fans would have rushed the court for that. Like we missed out on that. But for me, it was just a lot of stuff. Like I was just kind of like my senior year. Like after that, I didn't use my extra year because I was just like my whole life. Like when I was in high school getting recruited in college, I feel like you know how it is in sports. It's like you're going against a brick wall. So
Yeah.
for me, I was like, man, I'm done. Like, I'm done being against this wall. And plus, like, probably same for like volleyball, same for any sport. It's so hard to make it like to the next level. So I just started to think about like, okay, what I want to do with the next chapter. And like JJ, Jonathan Jeffries, from the football team that used to play football at ECU.
Yeah.
I think you know JJ. Like,
I
he
know.
was
Yeah.
working with Amazon, and he was like, "Yo, this job will like the pay is solid. Like they'll move you wherever you want to go." And like I was like, "All right," and I applied, and they like said, "Okay," like they had all these Midwest positions open, and I was like, "Well, I guess I'll go to like Columbus." Like I don't know anything about it, but like I always like used to watch Ohio State and the quarterbacks they had, Braxton Miller,
Yeah.
Smith, and like I was like, okay, like I can live in Columbus. So that's kind of like this is talking about me now, but that's kind of my thought process on it. But how was your senior year though? Like fan wise, like y'all had fans back, right? Your last year, your 5th year, or no?
The 5th year, yes.
Yes. How was that? Like to kind of get back to that normalcy, take off the mask and everything. Was that good?
Um, so I will say it was a little rough at first because, once again, everyone's being safe, which is good, so I just feel like maybe a lot of people didn't know, but you remember like the start of my freshman year was kind of the build of like us getting our fans.
Oh yeah.
We reached our top attendance like my sophomore year. So it kind of sucked to go through COVID and then, everything kind of dies back down. You have to try to build it back up again. So the
Yeah.
beginning was a little bit harder, as we went through, it started to go back up. So that's really all I can kind of remember from the fans. I'm not gonna lie, being in the games, I'm never really too focused on fans. It's just not
Yeah.
something. It's like I really tunnel vision for me. I just
Yeah. No, I
don't see
used to be.
anything past the court, honestly.
Yeah. Though, like I used to be locked in. Like whether I'm playing, not playing, it's like people would be like, "Oh, I was at the game." And I was like,
Exactly.
"Oh, I didn't even know." Like I was.
No,
Oh, I
exactly.
didn't know. That's how I've been my whole life, though. My parents always just like trained that in me, and that's just how I always was. So I definitely
No.
understand that. But yeah, no, for sure. But after that 5th year, I know you finished up, got the graduate degree, did your thing with that. Talk about kind of like because now you're in the ECU athletics, the administrative side. So what
Mhm.
kind of got swayed you or moved you into there? Was that kind of like help you? You kind of figure out, okay, this is what I want to do next.
Yeah, so okay, let's just kind of start my master. So after volleyball, I needed a job because I
Yeah,
still had a year left of my master's. So
yeah,
I started one semester. So when I started the 5th year, I
mm,
got my first year, obviously, was fine, but I needed to
mhm,
find a job after volleyball to
mhm,
literally cover everything. So
yeah,
I was a TA for Kinesiology 1000, and I really enjoyed it. I don't know if you remember Kinesiology
yeah. We had
1000.
a
I
we
guess
had a
like
class. We had a class together, didn't we? We had that class together.
yeah. Oh my gosh, yes. So,
Yeah,
oh gosh, you had it at a different time, but we always saw each other.
yeah.
Yes.
We always saw each
Yes.
other.
Cause
Yep.
yes. So, I taught that, and that was different because I'm like, no way I'm kind of qualified to teach
Yeah.
freshmen. But they're not freshmen. Like there are so many ages in that class that you just don't realize because so many people need it as it's a required course
Right.
basically. So it was cool to teach like physical activity and basically the benefits and like how to live a healthy lifestyle. Like it helped me along with being able to teach it because I was able to go back. Freshman year, you're not thinking about that. You're like, oh, I'm fit. Like I have a
Mhm.
high metabolism now. I don't need to do this. I don't
Yeah.
need to do that. And then it hits you when you start getting older.
Oh
You're like,
yeah,
oh,
especially when you graduated, like Bree, when I first moved out here, like I'm like, oh, I'm just living life, like doing
yeah,
whatever, going to
yeah,
bars, like getting food, eating whatever I want
yes.
to, like I did in college. And then like I
Mm,
came home and I took some photos or something, and I was like, hold on,
mm.
wait a second, I gotta log back in. So like I had to gotta
yeah,
get back on a routine for sure because it definitely hits you. That's why like we always say, man, make sure you get some type of physical activity. Everyone get that work in somehow, whether you go for a walk, a little jog, a little stairmaster, or something. Keep that healthy.
no, literally. And that's, yeah, like 30 minutes a day is all you got to like
Yep.
keep that, maintain that, like just 30 minutes at least give that, even if it's walking. And so it was also nice to teach that because you really got to tell people, like, find something you enjoy. Like, don't
Right.
think, I feel like people think working out is so terrible and they don't want to do it because they're doing things they don't enjoy. Like
Right.
physical activity comes in so many different forms. It's not just
Mhm.
working out, lifting weights, running. Like you can find it in sports, find it riding bikes, taking a swim. Like there's just so many other things you could do
Yeah.
and you don't have to think working out is lifting heavy, being physically active is lifting it. Like, no, there's just so many other things you could do. Like, I started doing Pilates, never knew what it was, but I just followed YouTube videos
Right.
at home and I like fell in love because it was just, I'm not forced to do heavy lifting. I didn't really enjoy heavy lifting. I
Hmm.
didn't really enjoy the sprints and 300s and all that stuff. So Pilates was just a way for me to stay fit. It was slower movements, more core body holding, all of that good stuff. So I'm an advocate for it now if anyone
Yeah.
ever wants to try.
Yeah.
But
No.
yeah, so that was the first thing I did. Second thing was that same semester I had started coaching the end of the 5th year. So in November I started coaching. So while I was a TA, I was also coaching as well. you know, all of the stuff I said before I was learning in sports management, I was able to apply to coaching, which was great because I took a sports psych class that really dives into, you know, why do athletes get burned out at such a young age? You know, just all of the things that you could literally think of. You're like, I never thought of it like that. Like, was able to apply all of that, not, you know, wanting my girls to enjoy the sport. I feel like ultimately it comes down to enjoyment. You know, if you're not enjoying what you do, you're just kind of like, what's the point? You're not motivated. You
Mhm.
don't want to do it. You know, everyone could tell you what to do. You could be the best athlete, but hate what you do and then just stop. And
Yeah.
people are like, why? You're so good. You know, you could be burned out. You just don't enjoy it. So,
Yeah.
you know, I got to do that a little bit. So coaching was nice. And then that at the end of coaching that year, so May
Mhm.
was when, you know, I was told the position I'm in now, you know, I knew Rachel when she was here, so she was really good. And I was in SAC about all of the years I was an athlete. So it was just something I was interested in. Like I love networking with people. I love community service and reaching out and just getting out. And I just have, you know, just such a heart for little kids and like mentoring and just anything in the community. Any serving I can do, I literally love it.
Yeah.
So like I looked up like what this job was about. And you know, I also interned for this job in my undergrad.
Mhm.
And so it was good that I interned under Danielle, who was really helpful and really showed me like my love for like wanting
Yeah,
to
shout
do
out
this.
Danielle. We love Danielle.
Yeah.
Shout out Danielle.
Yeah.
For real.
Like resumes, like just all of it, like the
Mhm.
programming part. I just love like what I did as an intern. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is something I'm so interested in. Like I already did it as an intern. I would love to, you know, like be in charge of it. So applied, interviewed, and got it thankfully. And, you know, been here for about 7 years going on now. About to start
Yeah.
calling me a green billion soon.
Yeah, for real. You really are.
No,
You really
no,
might
I'm
be.
not.
Yeah, you really might be agreeing for
Okay, calm
sure.
down.
What type of so like how is it though? I will let me ask this. How is it because you kind of help with some of the probably some of your former teammates, right? Probably they
Yes, I do. So the babies, they were freshmen when I was in the fifth year. They're still
yeah.
here, so I do get to help them out. So it's nice. They were the last people here.
Mhm.
Well, no, Jennings' year. So the year above them too.
Mhm.
Two of them are still here, I believe, from that year. So it's nice to like still see them around and, you know, say hey. It
Yeah.
was kind of difficult at first, you know, knowing you know, I'm now an employee here,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
you know,
You
can't
gotta
hang
move a little.
out.
Yeah, you gotta move a
Yeah,
little
yeah,
different.
I'm
Yeah, you
older
gotta.
now, I'm an adult, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, you know, we're
yeah,
not teammates anymore. But you always
yeah.
will be in my heart, but, you
Yeah,
know, as
no
I'm
more, no
working
more. Yeah, yeah, no more
be
staying away.
quiet. I know, right? Like
Yeah,
work life,
yeah,
working,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know,
No,
athletes are different. I'm not in that. So that was just a little, I mean, it was an adjustment, I will say, but it wasn't too bad. You know, I made a lot of friends at work, so that helped a lot.
that's
And
awesome.
also a lot of people I work with are close to my age, if not my age. So that's also really like nice in sports. And a lot are female too, which is a great, you know, woman in sports advocate as well. So
Yeah, no, 100%. Like, there are a lot of great people in that, ECU athletics department. Like in the, especially on the administrative side, like kind of how you mentioned Danielle. Shout out to Jennifer Bonner. Carly's always great too. So, and there's so
Mhm.
many more people there that are fantastic. So, I really do have a lot of love and a lot of care for the ECU administrative side. So you're doing a big thing over there. So keep it up. Keep it up. We're proud of
Thanks, Ev. That's so
you. No,
nice.
no, of course. How is it? So how are you, Bree Wood, the coach? How are
Oh
you
gosh.
as the coach? Like, because everybody, like, if you know Bree, she's like a little shy until you get to know her. Then she's not really shy. How are you as a coach? Are you like more chill, like mellowed out, or are you like on?
Oh
Or is it
gosh.
like a
So
real Sergeant Bree in there?
Um, I coach 13-year-olds, so you have to have some like drill sergeant in there, I will
Right.
say, just from how they are
Mhm.
now. I don't know.
Yeah.
2000s and babies. So, yeah, I would say I hope I'm a fun coach. Like I hope my girls think that. I would say I like to connect with my athletes a lot and not just think of them as just athletes, but also as human beings. So I like to do check-ins, you know,
Mhm.
I'm very big on open communication. If they're ever going through anything, I'm like, please feel like I can be a part of your support system and let me know if you're having a bad day, even. And you're just because, coaches will yell at you in practice, but they don't know you're going through things. They're like, oh, she's giving me attitude. And it's
Right.
understandable. So I'm very much, I'm not good at reading everybody all the time. So I'm like, if you guys are having a bad day, just let me know so I can help you out. So I know that way I'm not just harping on you about why are you doing this? Why are you doing that?
Right.
Instead, take a step back. They are going through things. We are human. They're 13 years old. Like that's
Right.
totally normal if they do. And, sometimes as a coach, you have to realize what they're going through and you have to, be a little bit patient, not harp on them 24 because that could be their last straw, honestly. And
Right.
you
Yeah.
don't want that to happen with 13-year-olds.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I would say more of a fun, motivating, encouraging, but also at the same time, like we need to get work done.
Mhm. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
the work comes first for sure. And I know that those 13-year-olds, like, that's a huge time, puberty, everything, like,
Oh God.
moving into
Yeah.
high school. So that's such a huge time of their life. So I definitely understand that. Like, I want to ask you too, like kind of going forward. I know still young, don't have to have everything figured out, but like where do you see like yourself going? Like, cause I know you working in the athletic department. Are we like looking at AD Bree Wood one day? Are we looking at head coach Bree Wood? Like what are you kind of looking at? What are you eyeballing, or you kind of still have it
Yeah.
in the air?
So the goal is to always get better, like I told you. So yes, I do hope to elevate in administration one day. But really for me, I'm a person of I would say I'm a go with the flow person, but I'm also like, I want to experience a bunch so I know what I like, what I
Yeah,
don't like. So, just for those who don't have it figured out, like, no, it is okay. Like, your 20s are for you to figure, like, to try everything.
yeah,
And if you fail at it, okay, but at least you don't like it, it's something you wouldn't want to do. Whereas,
100%.
like, just being stuck and not trying anything new is just you're not going anywhere. You're just
Yeah,
complacent and comfortable. So don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to take risks. Like the worst thing anyone can say is no to you.
right.
So that's what I try to go in with that kind of process about everything and
Hmm.
just thinking about things like that because it is scary being young and working, in kind of an administrative role because you're like, am I qualified enough? But like, no, have the confidence that you are, respect your opinion, and like I said, take the risk. Like, ask if you want something changed, if you want something done. Like, don't be afraid because, like I said, the worst people can tell you is no, and
Yeah,
so it doesn't hurt to ask. That's just my one piece of advice. But yeah, it's I do want to like move up. I want to try everything. I just feel like I'm still so young. There's just so much more out there for me than, just one thing to be complacent with.
right.
So,
Versatility. No, that's awesome.
yeah.
The best experience is experience. However it goes.
Hmm.
Making sure that you go out with however whether you succeed, like you said, whether you have a slip up, it's an area of opportunity. You learn from it and you grow from it. So that's
Yeah.
really awesome, Bree. So one thing I you gotta talk about is just
Oh God.
basically just your relationship with the We Move guys. Myself, Ian, John, Jaden. I know you might not know John as well. He's a little bit older
I
than me.
know John.
I'm
Me and
just
John
saying.
keep
I'm
up
just saying. Okay,
sometimes.
I didn't look. I'm just saying. But basically, I would just go ahead and give the people either
Shout out.
yeah, our best story, or just like
Oh
kind of
gosh.
how like you came to know all of us, and then just all that good stuff, Bree. You want to
Oh
hear
gosh.
you talk about us?
I'm trying to remember. How do
Yeah,
we know each other?
I don't even
Other than being athletes, like KJ and Justin, is that how I think that's how me and you
know.
met was through
Yeah,
KJ and Justin.
yeah,
And then Ian through you.
yeah.
But yeah, okay, I could talk. So basically,
Mhm.
Ev, KJ, Justin, Ian, and I were all super close when we got to college, like literally ever since freshman year. I met KJ and Justin first in summer school. They're great people to be around, the
Yeah,
craziest. And
yeah,
then I met you. I'm pretty sure I met you from them. Like it was
yeah.
something
Probably like
they
somewhere
had.
through. Yeah, somewhere
Yeah,
through.
like we
Yeah.
were all just hanging out. And so
Mhm.
from there, like it was just like instant friendships. Like you can tell you guys are good people. You've always been good to me. You've always told me the real when it
Yeah,
comes to literally anything, when it comes to volleyball, when it comes to relationships, when it comes
yeah,
to life. Like, Bree, what are
yeah,
you doing? You guys have always been there. When it comes to even having fun, like you need to let loose. It's okay to have fun. Really just some of my favorite people from when I got to college, some of the real ones that have always been there, that still check in and I
Mm,
still check in on. So it's great to have people like you can still talk to even after college and everything still seems normal. Like Ev came down. When did you come down? Like May,
I think
April,
it was like April or
March?
March when for the ECU Houston game.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
Ev came down a few months ago and that surprised me in my office, and I was just so happy to see
yeah,
him. And literally, it's like nothing changed. Like we still have the same combos.
yeah,
We still talk to each other, send each other our memories from,
yeah,
when we would just have fun and hang out together.
yeah. Years of memories, years of memories.
No, literally, now it's going on like 6 years, and like, who would believe, I feel like we were just freshmen yesterday talking about, oh my gosh, like we have so much time, and it really goes by so fast. And I'm so sad. I was so sad when you guys left me,
Yeah,
but it's still good to be able to keep in contact. And yeah, you guys have just always been there for me, and just know I'll always be there for you. And I so appreciate all of our friendships together and just how close we all were. I just really enjoyed all of it, and I'm sad it ended so quickly. Like you really don't think 4 years goes by so fast, and then you blink and like boom, here we are. Like I
yeah.
still
No,
feel like we're freshmen sometimes.
it flies by. It flies by. Some things don't ever change though. But I
Yeah.
appreciate that, Bree. I'll always be there for you. We always got your back. So, and thank you for coming on too. I gotta let you before I let you go though. You gotta go ahead and give one more, word of advice, word of wisdom for the people.
Oh,
Go ahead and give them one more. What you
oh
give you a quote. It doesn't
gosh.
have to be much. You don't have to get deep in your bag. Just give them something.
Oh gosh. Okay. I
Mhm.
guess my main thing is, well, for me right now, it's just like I said before, don't be afraid to take a risk. Don't be afraid to fail. Don't be afraid. Everything is an opportunity, like Ev said. Like just
Mhm.
because don't think you're unqualified for anything. You can be qualified for literally anything you want to be. Like believe it and go after it. But you do also have to put in the work for everything you want. Don't think
Right.
everything will just be handed to you, is what I think a lot of people just think now.
Hmm.
You got to always put in the work to be 1% better. Wake up before people, go to sleep after them. Leave, get to work early, leave later. Like be exceptional, show them who you are, and like don't be afraid to be yourself and be uncomfortable and just go out and meet new people. Like that's the fun of life. So
Yeah. No, no, that's awesome. And that's really, hey, that was terrific, Bree. I really don't have anything
thanks,
else to
Zach.
add to that. You nailed that. I appreciate
Yay.
you coming on. It's great to see you, great to talk to you. You can always reach out. We always here for you, Bree. So, um,
Oh,
it's much appreciated. So,
oh, thanks, Ev. I appreciate you and your
yeah.
podcast. You guys are doing great things. And if you don't follow them, please follow them now. I'll be giving them a shout out on my Instagram soon.
Yeah, of course. We're gonna get it on the IG story, everything out there for you, post it out. It'll be on Instagram, YouTube, Apple Podcasts. I'm gonna get it on.
Oh, y'all got every
Yeah, we
wow.
everywhere. Twitter, we might even throw it on TikTok. So
Oh Lord.
yeah, yeah, we move
Should have dressed
pod.
up.
You know where to find us. So
Okay.
episode 2, season 2, Bree Wood, legend. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. We always here for you. Reach out if you need anything.
Will do. Thanks, Ev. Have a good night.
All right, you too. I'll talk to you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.